a few seconds. There you go.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Delray Chamber Government Economic Forum, first Friday forum, first Friday in April, April Fools. We're canceled today. Goodbye. No, just kidding. But it's a great April 1st, and I'm here with our co-chair, Michael Weiner, and our fearless leader, Stephanie Edelman. And we have a great guest today, our esteemed Senator Lori Berman. Michael, do you want to say a few words, or should we introduce Lori?
It's been my pleasure to know Lori for more than a decade. I'm sure she counts every moment, but she's now 12 years of going back and forth to Tallahassee, first in the House and now as our state senator. I'm really impressed by the fact that it's Tufts University and a law school degree from George Washington University. I mean, boy, she's got some great schools, but she'll tell you, and she's most impressed by her public service and her devotion to her family. So with that, Lori, please tell us once more what's happening in Tallahassee that concerns Delray Beach, Florida. Thank you so much for coming to this event this early in the morning for us.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, David. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this event this morning. So we just wrapped up what we jokingly, but there's always truth in a joke, referred to as the 60 most dangerous days in the state of Florida. We are done. We will be going back for a special session, and I'll talk about that a little bit as we move on in our discussion. So let me tell you some of the good things, and then I'll tell you some of the things that were concerning, and then we'll talk a little bit about the special session coming up. So the really good thing that happened was Florida has a robust budget. We have done amazingly well, and we've gotten a lot of money from the federal government with the American Recovery Act and infrastructure money. So last year, in the height of the COVID pandemic, we had $100 billion budget, roughly 101, I think. This year, a year later, we had a $112 billion budget. So a 10% increase year to year, over 10%. So it's really crazy. So the good news is that there was a lot of money to spend for a lot of really important things in our state. And I'll go over some of the things that we spent money on. We did put reserves for $8.9 billion. We have $5.3 billion unallocated, 3.1 for the budget stabilization fund, and $500 million for emergency preparedness, and another $1 billion for an inflation fund, which is the first time we've done that. So it would be reserved for budget amendments necessary to counter increased costs due to inflation. The federal funds make up about 33% of the budget. Really good news, we gave all of our state employees a base pay raise of 5%, and it includes a $15 per hour state employee pay and some targeted incentives. We did do $200 million for a gas tax break. You've heard other states have been doing that. Unfortunately, we only did it for the month of October. You can figure out for yourself why we did it for the month of October. I wish we had it now because people are really suffering now. We did $800 million toward boosting teacher salaries. So I think across the state now, all teacher salaries are going to start at $47,000, which is great. I hope there's room for, the problem we've had is there was very big salary compression on our teachers. So the starting teachers would get 47, but somebody who had been there for 10 years was making 49. So we're going to try and fix that teacher compression issue, hopefully, with some of that money. There was $400 million to target broadband expansion, which I think is fantastic. We want everybody in the state to be able to access broadband. A lot of it went to rural, but I have to tell you, we found out when last when COVID hit and the schools all went virtual, we had problems here in Palm Beach County, and our businesses really stepped up and helped out. And so we're doing pretty well in Palm Beach County with our broadband expansion, but it's important that we get everybody access to broadband, especially in the economy that we're living in right now. We put in $645 million to build a new prison, $100 million to restore the Everglades. A lot of money went into the environment, which is one of my passions, so I'm really happy about that. As usual, you should know, if you don't know, the biggest part of our budget every year, the largest part, roughly for this year, it was almost 49 billion, is, believe it or not, healthcare. We have, a lot of the costs that we have to do with healthcare. So, close to almost half of our budget went to healthcare. 32 billion goes to education, which, you can understand, running all the schools. The next highest is our natural resources, which gets 19 billion. After that is general government at 7 billion, criminal justice at 6 billion, and there's a judicial branch, which I don't know why it's not part of criminal justice, for $700 million also. So that's pretty much the budget breakdown. Now, the really good news about the budget this year is we did do a lot of special projects. There was money. Oh, and one of the really cool things that happened in the budget is we fully funded, for the very first time ever that I've been in the legislature, cultural arts projects. So I am so happy. I think it's fantastic so all the cultural projects are fully funded. Anybody who put in a request for cultural projects. But we did amazing for Delray Beach. Delray Beach got so many projects. I'm so excited. So I'll go through a few of them for you. Pompey Park improvements, $935,000, almost $1 million. The Delray Beach Thomas Street Stormwater Pump Station improvement, $1.8 million. Delray Beach Catherine Strong Park improvements, $100,000. Delray Beach citywide tidal backflow prevention, WASTOP inline check valve installation. So it sounds a little technical, having to do with backflow, $445,000. I got to tell you, I've had years where Delray Beach doesn't get any allocations. For Delray Beach to get 4 big projects like that, that speaks volumes for how well everybody did coming together, going to Tallahassee. Your lobbyists did a great job. It really is fantastic that Delray Beach is bringing home all this money. We know that Palm Beach County is a donor county because we're one of the wealthier counties in the state. So as legislators, we go up there together and we fight for money to come back to us. We don't want to always be the donor county. So really excited to see these projects in the budget. And I will tell you, of all my cities, I think Delray Beach got the most money. A lot of my other cities got money also. Don't tell the other cities this, but a lot of cities got money too. But I think Delray ended up with the lion's share of projects in the budget for me. So very excited about that. Lots of other things that went to the county. I'll just give you an example of a couple of them. There's a project in Pahokee. It's called Restore Reentry. It helps people who are returning from jails and our prisons, and it reintegrates them in the community. We got money for that. We did an Alzheimer's project for wandering. We got money for that. We got a lot of money for some money for mental health first aid, which is a program run by Jewish Family Services. The Promise Fund, which does breast cancer, got money in the budget. So overall, it's just a really good budget. Really happy with the end result. Glad, that we had the federal funds, which really made it for a very, very robust budget. And I believe everybody voted for the budget. I don't know if there was anyone. I know no one in the Senate voted no. And I think maybe there's one very, very far right Republican who might have been a no vote, but everyone else voted for the budget, which speaks volumes, because I've been there for years when the budget has been very contentious. So really happy to see that. So I'll start with some of the good bills that passed. The one that I'm one of the most excited about is the resiliency project. So that a couple years, for many years, we couldn't talk about the word climate change, and we live in a peninsula. So it's a little disturbing that we weren't talking about some of the problems. When Governor DeSantis came in, he did appoint a resiliency officer in the state, and then that person left and got a job elsewhere. And we had the position was vacant for about a year. He has since appointed a new resiliency officer, and we actually enshrined it into a bill, so that there has to be a resiliency officer. That the resiliency officer has to look at DOT and develop a resilience plan for the state highway system. And it's just to prepare not only our coastal communities like Delray, but inland too, from rising seas and worsening flood events. So I'm really happy. And we did put money toward that. I believe there's about $200 million allocated toward the resiliency officer job duties. I still would like to see us address the causes. We're addressing the problems. I'd like to see us address how we can mitigate sea level rise versus having to respond to sea level rise and things like that. But everything takes time. Things happen in baby steps in the legislature. So I'm really hopeful that we really did take this important first step. The other bills that I'm excited about are having to do with financial literacy. So one of my colleagues for years was advocating that we teach a course in high school where children learn about financial literacy. Because let's face it, these kids graduate high school and they don't know how to balance a checkbook. They don't even know what a checkbook is, pretty much. I mean, I understand everything's online now, but it's still important for them to understand the concepts of financial literacy. So I'm really happy it will be required now in all high schools. So I think that's going to be a really good positive for our students. We also passed a law called Maya's Law for, unfortunately, a woman from Pembroke Pines who was at school at UCF who was murdered. They believe they can't prove it conclusively, but they believe that a maintenance man in her building murdered her. He then committed suicide. And so part of it was he had easy access to her unit, and there had never been a background check on him. So now they're going to have requirements when you want to go into someone's unit, and they'll do more background checks on the individual. So, and that was just in response to this year. So for us to act that quickly was a really good sign. Doesn't always happen that fast in Tallahassee. So very, very excited about those bills. As I'm sure you heard, we spent an inordinate amount of time discussing some of the, we call them the cultural wars, some of the issues that are a lot more divisive. And it's very unfortunate that we spent so much time on those issues. And the end result of having spent time on an abortion bill, a Don't Say Gay bill, a Stop Woke Act, a election bill, even though we had no problems with our election in 2020, was that we didn't do a lot of the pocketbook issues that we should have been doing for people. And one of my biggest regrets about the session is that we did nothing about Surfside. I mean, it shocks me that we had a building collapse, and it was national news for weeks about the building collapse. And we went to Tallahassee and not one piece of legislation was passed. Now, there was a piece of legislation proposed. It was discussed. What the proposal was to have, for any building that's 30 years old, I believe, to have an inspection every year, and then to have them start putting reserves away based on the inspection. So that, if they said, the concrete is starting to deteriorate in 3 years, you're going to have to do the concrete work. You would have had to start putting the reserves. The big fight was over how long to put the reserves for. And they just couldn't reach an agreement, and they let the whole issue die. I was speaking with some of our county commissioners, and as you know, Boca Raton actually already passed their own law regarding inspections. So I think at this point, our county commissioners might have to step in, and some of our other cities, just to make sure, because it's pretty frightening to think of a building just falling down. So that was a disappointment. And then the other really big disappointment was property insurance. I'm sure, as all of you know, if you've had to renew your property insurance recently, your homeowners, the rates are just crazy. And we're seeing more and more businesses going insolvent in Palm Beach County. Citizens, which has always been, quote, our insurer of last resort. When I first started in the legislature, Citizens had about over a million policies, and everybody was panicked because we don't have enough money to cover 1 million policies. So slowly they were able to depopulate Citizens. They got people into other companies, and we got down to about 500,000 policies. And that was, or maybe even lower, a little bit lower. And that was acceptable, not great, but acceptable. Well, I got to tell you now, Citizens is rising like unbelievable, and they're over 700,000 policies now. I think they were at like 770. They're just going up. We're going to go back up to that million level soon because there's no other insurers. One of my friends who was a rep just told the story how he was paying $3,400 something or $4,300 like 2 years ago. His renewal just came in at $14,000. So he went to Citizens. So that's what's going to happen. And the problem is there's no easy fix. We don't know what to do. Everybody's guilty. Everybody. I mean, the trial lawyers, the insurance companies, the reinsurers, the roof repair people, everybody's contributing to the problem, and we really don't know what to do. We passed a bill last year that limited the roof repair advertising. They took it to court. The court said it's an infringement on their freedom of speech. So that part of the bill was removed. The House Speaker said he wants to see how the bill we passed last year, if it has any impact. Hard to say what's going to happen. And when we talked a little before we got online, I said there might be another special session beyond the one that's already been scheduled. And I believe if it is, it will be for property insurance. But the problem is trying to figure out what we're going to do that's going to make a difference on the property insurance issue. But it's a crisis, no question. Just not sure how we're going to address it as time goes on. One of the other bills that you should be aware of, and that is pretty controversial and not sure how it's going to all play out, had to do, and I believe the Florida Chamber supported the bill and the counties are opposing it, is when a city passes an ordinance now, if it will have a negative impact of up to 15% on a business's income, the business can give the city notice about it. And if the city does not rescind the ordinance, the business can sue for the economic losses that they suffer because of the ordinance. Very controversial. I know the counties have asked the governor to veto the bill. I am not sure how it will play out, but you should be aware that that's coming down the pike, and we don't know, if the governor is going to sign it. Oh, good. I see someone put, we advocated against that bill. I did vote against that bill, I will tell you, because I am worried about how it will affect our cities. But it remains to be seen.
We were too. We're a chamber of commerce, obviously, and we care about our businesses, but we do care that the city is able to function properly. So in part of our notes to all of our legislators, we definitely advocated against that one.
Good, thank you. I mean, because I know there were some chambers that were advocating for that bill. So I'm happy to hear that, because I really think it could be it could cripple all of our cities. If they can't pass regulations, I mean, there's so many examples of where it could, the city's trying to pass a regulation to make it better for everyone. But yes, it might hurt one or two businesses, and that's going to be a problem. So we'll see how it all plays out. Hard to say what the governor will do about that particular issue. So let's talk a little bit about, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else that, a good thing that we did, which I love, with regard to preemption, which is when we as a legislature take over and say a city and county can't do something, we actually reverse some of our preemption on an issue that I'm excited about, and that's smoking in our parks and on our beaches. So now cities can regulate smoking on parks and beaches, which I think is great. Hopefully we'll see some of the cities and counties take a proactive stance in response to that. Believe it or not, there is an exception in the bill because of one of the senators, and the exception is for cigars. So you are still going to be able to smoke cigars on the beach or in your park. The cities and counties are not going to be able to regulate that, but we'll see how long that one lasts for, as everything goes into effect. Oh, and before I get into redistricting, our special session, I just wanted to tell you, I always do a thing about what I think is the silliest bill that we did this year. So this year, for my nomination for silliest bill, and I think it's probably most people's nomination, we actually changed the state dessert this year. But don't worry, key lime pie is still the state pie, but we made strawberry shortcake the state dessert because Plant City grows strawberries. So that was pretty funny that we spent a fair amount of time talking about strawberry shortcake in the legislature. So redistricting, once every 10 years, the Florida legislature is charged with doing redistricting based on the census. So this was our year to do redistricting based on the 2020 census. We didn't get, because of COVID, we didn't get the information till late. It was pretty tough. The Senate had a really great committee that they put together, and they followed the law to the T. They presented a Senate map. We do our own maps. We do not do a House map, and we presented a congressional map. The House does their own maps. They did their map. I don't know if it was as good, but it was fine. And then they did a congressional map. Both the Senate and House, the Florida House maps were sent to the court. The court said they were fine, and both of those have become part of the law. So our Senate maps are set, our House maps are set. The problem was the congressional maps. After we drafted both a Senate and a House congressional map, the governor presented his own congressional map. His map is totally different. It disregards some of the minority districts. It takes away 2 minority districts. He's claiming a challenge based on the US Constitution. So then in the meantime, none of the congressional maps had passed officially. So then the House went back and redrew some congressional maps based on the governor's proposal. One was more so that what happened was they felt they were concerned that there was some constitutionality because we have the Florida Constitution with the Fair Districts Amendment that the people of Florida passed in 2012. And we can't violate that either. So what they did is they drew one map that went pretty much with the governor, and then they drew a plan B. So like one from column A, one from column B, and said, well, if this first map is not okay, then use this second map. We did vote on it. I voted against the column A, column B, but it passed. But in the meantime, when we were talking about it, the governor said, if you send me that column A, column B map, I'm going to veto it. And that's exactly what happened. We sent him the column A, column B map, and he vetoed them. So we now have a special session set for April 19th for the sole purpose of doing the congressional maps. They have indicated, leadership has indicated that they want us to do a map because the alternative is the courts drawing the maps. So I think you're going to see a compromise, and I think it'll be pretty much based on what the governor wants, because that's the only way he's not going to veto it. But then I think you're going to see some real legal challenges because you're going to diminish minority districts in the congressional map that probably gets passed by the legislature. That's my guess. Is you'll see there's up to 2 minority districts. One is in the North Florida area around Tallahassee. Right now, the seat is held by Al Lawson. They're basically doing away with his district. And then there's another district in the Orlando area. I believe it's a seat that Val Demings has, but she's running for the office of senator. So those 2 seats are the problem areas. The South Florida seats in the congressional map are pretty much the same as they were proposed. They're not identical to how they are now, but they're pretty similar. The seat that Lois Frankel has will be the Palm Beach County seat. It will go from West Palm down to, I believe, Boca. And then the seat that Ted Deutsch has right now has part of Boca Raton, and then Coral Springs and some Broward, and even goes into Wilton Manors, I think, in Broward. So it doesn't affect us as much in terms of the seats, but it is, because qualifying for the elections happens in June, so the maps have to be in place by June. Something has to be in place. So I think you will see a map, but I do envision it will be challenged later on. So people will be elected under these maps, and then there will be a challenge, and who knows what's going to happen with the challenge. So that's pretty much in a nutshell where we are right now. I know I wanted to leave some time to take questions from you all, and I'm really, and I do want to just explain about my redistricting so you'll know what happens. So I still get to keep Delray, which I'm very excited about. I love representing Delray. And so my new Senate district goes from Glades Road in Boca north up to the Boynton Beach border. So I lose Lake Worth and Lantana and South Palm Beach County. And then I go in the east to the ocean. In the west, I go to Belglade, which I have never had the Belglade region before. I'll be representing them. And then in the north, it cuts over from Boynton Beach. And then when it hits the turnpike, it goes up north again, and I will have Wellington and up to Southern Boulevard. So Southern all the way out to the Glades area. So really excited, probably about, I would say more than half of my existing district is in that new district, but I definitely am taking in a lot more land mass, some of it, more of it agricultural area, but very excited about the whole redistricting. And then Bobby Powell's new district will have all that area that I'm losing, Lake Worth and that area. And The district that Tina Polsky is running for is south of Glades Road and then goes into Broward County, which she already represents part of Broward County right now. So pretty similar, but a few little tweaks along the way in the Senate districts. I don't know that much about the House districts, haven't really focused on them, but I think there's some pretty significant changes. I believe Andy Thompson and Peggy Seidman are running for the seat that will have Delray Beach in it. Mike Caruso is going to move north and run in a more northern seat. So you will have some changes on the city of Delray, who represents you in the House. And I believe Kelly Skidmore is still running for her seat, and she probably has a lot of the unincorporated area of Delray and Boca Raton also. So that's it, and happy to answer any questions that you have.
That was an excellent overview, Lori, because I've been paying attention to what was going on in Tallahassee, and you answered pretty much all of them in such a succinct manner, but I'm sure that we'll have some questions from the group. So I'm going to hand it over to Michael and David. Do you guys want to start?
Well, I want to say one fun fact, Senator Berman. The last time the cultural programs were fully funded in the state of Florida was 1990.
Wow.
And the last ones that were ever granted was granted to Old School Square. And so Delray owes its existence to those cultural programs. So I'm really glad to hear that they're back. They made a huge difference in this town. For those of you who remember, it's now 32 years ago. It was a prison. It was a chain link fence with barbed wire around it. They spray painted the building in order to save money on the elementary school. And needless to say, there was no activity on Atlantic Avenue once you drove past that. So thank you very much. Glad to hear it's restored. Do we, there's a lot of ground to cover. Are there any questions for the senator?
I have a question, Michael.
If not,
Lori, it's hard to keep track of the bills because of the cultural bills were taking up all the oxygen in the room. But what happened to that companion bill to the 15% that would require cities to do economic impact statement?
It died. The companion bill did die, which was good. Very happy about that. So, but they still passed the other bill, unfortunately, but the companion died. Yeah.
Senator, did you hear anything on the final outcome of a bill for businesses as opposed to real property, that if there were local ordinance passed, they would have a right to sue? Did you watch that one at all?
Yeah, no, that's the one we were talking about. Yeah. Businesses do have a right to sue if they lose 15% or more of their revenue. And you have to have been in business for 3 years, which is good. I mean, you can't just come in and say, I just started and now I lost all my revenue. But they did put some exceptions. They put an exception for eminent domain. And if an emergency, if the city puts in place an emergency rule because of COVID or something like that, there's an exception. But I'm worried about that bill. I would talk to the governor if you can about it. It's a pretty tough bill on businesses. I mean, on cities. It's good,
How did our other representatives in the county vote for that?
It was pretty much a party line vote.
Because Mike Caruso came before us and said he was against it because anybody could fudge 15% on their balance sheets and profit and loss statement.
I don't know how he voted in the end. I can't speak for him. I don't know, but it was pretty much party line the way I saw it. Yeah.
So if anybody understands Tallahassee, my hat's off. But you have made it as clear as you can. So we appreciate the time that you've spent with us, and we look forward to you coming back and talk to us, because we are staying in your district, and you can have some new people to represent. That'll be great.
Yeah.
We had two quick comments. I just wanted to point
Okay,
out
go ahead.
quickly. I think Sarah Maxfield just mentioned that the Florida League of Cities estimated 900 million in additional cost to cities, to municipalities because of this bill, which is terrible for everybody, for all the taxpayers. And I did want to point out one comment that we got on Facebook, that they really don't like the bill, the strawberry shortcake bill, and it is a waste of time and is not funny at all.
It was
He
a
had a
waste of
point.
time. I don't disagree. That's why I always say we do silly bills, we do waste time. You know, we can't do a bill about Surfside or property insurance, but we can do a bill about strawberry shortcake. It is a little crazy.
Yes, it's not funny. I know we're laughing, but it's really not funny. She's right.
Exactly. It is a waste of the legislature's time
Right.
and that's important because we're only up there for 60 days. We don't have a lot of time. That's something someday I wish we could all reconsider because we're the third largest state. We have $112 billion budget and we do it all in 2 months. It's crazy. Palm Beach County has like a $7-8 billion budget. They spend the entire year focused on that and they should. And we instead rush through our budget. And I really think in a state at the size of Florida, we should reconsider being a part-time legislature, but there isn't an appetite for that. But it's something I always like to bring up to get that idea in people's minds so that they can start thinking about it, that we really need to reconsider how we run our state.
I have a question, if I may, Lori.
Sure, so.
I think you gave us the number, and I think it was a pretty good sized number, as the amount of money appropriated for healthcare. How does that compare to last year? Were there any new programs funded?
Not really. The one thing that happened is more people enrolled in Medicaid because of COVID. A lot of people became unemployed and became eligible for Medicaid. Florida has pretty strict rules about who can enroll in Medicaid. As you know, we never expanded Medicaid. 40 other states or 38 other states have expanded Medicaid. We are one of 12 states that have not. And as a result of that, we don't bring down as much money from the federal government as we should. If we expanded Medicaid, we'd be bringing down billions of dollars, not only covering up to 800,000 people who are not covered, and those are the working poor. But so we have more people who have enrolled in Medicaid, and we do have a match in the state for that. So that's where a lot of the increase went. I'm not sure what the exact increase is from last year. I do believe there is. And also the other thing that happens is we have to help our safety net hospitals. We have a lot of public hospitals and they have no choice, but when somebody walks in ill, they have to treat them. And so a lot of the money for healthcare goes to help the hospitals in those situations because, you know, we're paying for the people to be treated. That's another reason why we should be expanding Medicaid, because then we'd be getting more money from the federal government to pay for those people who have to be treated. That's in my 12 years in the legislature. I will tell you, we actually did have a debate once on expanding Medicaid. They actually let the bill be heard, and unfortunately it didn't pass. And that is my greatest regret, that we have not expanded Medicaid, because for the people and for the monetary benefit that this state would get. And still astounds me that we are in this position we are. And that's partly why our healthcare costs are so high.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Lori, how do the education bills? I know the Palm Beach County School Board was looking to get some bills passed to take care of learning loss due to COVID, such as waiver of reading scores, so kids could move up a grade even though they weren't matching that level, and increase in salaries for not only teachers but ancillary workers, because they are having trouble getting bus drivers and cooks and all that. I know the whole list.
Yeah, most of that was done through the budget. We didn't do a lot of, you know, actual changes to the education changes that we did, unfortunately, had to do with the Don't Say Gay bill and the Stop Woke Act.
Very
Those were,
important. Yes.
yeah, those were unfortunately the changes that were made in education. But a lot of the things, getting bus drivers, getting teachers more money, were done through the budget. Now, I will tell you, unfortunately, they put in place something that I didn't talk about as part of the budget, but now I'll give you the lowdown. So as you know, there were 5 or 6 counties that, you know, they were very angry at for keeping the mask mandate in place for these schools, and the school boards kept them in place. Originally, it was proposed that there would be, those school boards would be punished, and they would lose money because of the fact that they kept their mask mandates in place, and Palm Beach County being one of them. In the end, they decided instead of doing the stick, they would do the carrot method. So there is $200 million in the budget that other school boards can go to and apply for additional funding. But those 6 counties, including Palm Beach, are specifically prohibited from applying for that $200 million. So that was pretty disappointing. I'm glad they didn't do the stick method. I'm glad they didn't take money away from us. But the fact that they have this program with incentives and we're not allowed to even apply for it is pretty disappointing. Not surprising, but disappointing. I'm trying to think of how the exact way they worded it. It's the School Recognition Fund, which is awarded based on their A through F school grades. And school districts that impose mask requirements are not eligible for that School Recognition Fund. So kind of disappointing.
Could there be a disparate impact constitutional claim on that? Those school districts are heavily minority, I assume, and affecting
Interesting.
adversely.
I don't know. I mean, it's the big school districts. It's Broward, Dade, Palm Beach, I think. But there's also like Sarasota, which is a small Republican county. So, you know, so I don't know if it's as much, but interesting. I haven't heard of anybody. We have so many battles to fight right now. I haven't heard of anybody really, you know, all the other cultural war bills, I think will have constitutional challenges. We already saw the Don't Say Gay bill there's been a legal challenge filed already against that. And I think you'll see some other constitutional challenges, but I don't know if they're going to do it on a budget item like that.
Okay, any other questions for our esteemed senator? Okay, thank you, Senator Lori Berman. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for coming to us once or twice or 3 times a year even to give us an update. And you really give a great report, very detailed and easy to understand. So the Delray Chamber really appreciates your efforts to keep us informed.
Thank
It was
you all.
great.
Thanks.
Lori.
Bye-bye. Have a good day.
It was fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go to some partners that are available. Sarah Maxwell, are you still there? What?
Maxfield.
I'll answer to just about anything. You can call me Maxwell. You can call me Maxfield. I'm
geez.
good with it, David.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Good morning, everyone. I really don't have anything to share, but I do see that that our Assistant City Manager, Jeff Orris, is on. So I will defer my time to Mr. Orris if he has anything else he'd like to share from the city's perspective.
Oh, God, sure. Put me in the hot seat.
I'm very sorry, although I'm not.
Good morning, everyone. I know you haven't seen me much yet. Certainly will. One thing I do want to mention, we're still waiting good things to happen over there on George Bush Boulevard with the bridge. It's going to be a little while longer. I know we have some friends up in that area that are suffering a little bit because the traffic's not going through. But just to remind everybody, that's the situation. You know, we're doing the best we can right now. It's a county issue. Meanwhile, FDOT is also finishing up their project up there. So we're staying on top of what's going on there. Looking forward to all the things that are coming up soon. I myself am getting knee deep into the budget. We're starting the budget process now, as well as looking at some other things that are going on. So we've got some good things coming down the pike that I'm not at liberty to discuss yet, but hopefully we'll be able to come to you and let you know some of the great things that we're getting on top of in the next few months.
Jeff, you're going to be one of our guests coming up on the First Friday Forum in the near future. Anyway, so you can give us a more in-depth update then, right?
Is
And
that
I
June,
look forward to
Stephanie?
doing that.
I think
Is that
it's in June. Mhm.
Who do we have next month, Stephanie?
Don't know off the top of my head. I was just looking.
Okay, Renee, are you still there?
Yes,
Madam
hello.
CRA,
Hi, good morning, everybody.
morning.
We always have lots of things to talk about, so I'll get right in. So we've been in the process of doing a redevelopment plan amendment for the CRA. We actually started this in right before COVID hit, and we were doing outreach meetings, which we paused the project because we couldn't really do, you know, the outreach that we wanted to. But we picked it back up a few months ago, and we have a outreach meeting coming up on April 28th at the Art Square House. So you'll see that. We're going to start blasting that out very soon. So I just wanted to share that with you all. On the infrastructure front, as you know, we've been working on the Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure Project with the city of Delray Beach. Will be a few charrettes coming up in the month of April for the community associations in the Northwest neighborhood. So if you know of anyone who lives there or can share that information, that would be great. And next, on commercial front, we had an awesome groundbreaking last Friday for the 98 Northwest 5th Avenue project. Stephanie was there. Thank you so much for joining us. And that's the commercial building that we are, well, turning into a commercial. It's residential now, but we're converting it to a commercial. So the top floor will be a co-working shared space. Ground floor will have retail, commercial office spaces. So really excited about that. It's right next to the Housing Authority. So we're hoping that this will be a catalyst for the 5th Avenue block to get more development going. So at this point now, there are 2 active construction projects happening in the Northwest neighborhood. That's the 98 Northwest 5th Avenue and also the Hatcher. We had a groundbreaking for Mr. William Hatcher a few months ago. And if you drive down Northwest 6, they has a roof, and I think they're starting to actually put the shingles on and everything. So that project's going really well. We'll probably end up having a ribbon cutting for him sometime in the summer. So it's really great to finally see some activity happening in the Northwest neighborhood. And it's all small scale projects. It's not the large, big block things. I think there were concerns about walling off the community and having these bigger buildings. But what we're seeing now, and it's really happened organically, is more smaller scale development that's very fitting and respectful of the neighborhood. Tonight is First Friday Art Walk at the Arts Warehouse, so please come and check out our small businesses we have there. And tomorrow is Crafted on the Ave. So that's another kind of a similar to the Green Market, but it's more for crafters and makers on Libby Wesley Plaza. We started that a few months ago to try and give smaller businesses or makers or people that are doing things in their households a space to sell their goods. So that'll be happening tomorrow from 1 to 4 o'clock at Libby Wesley. Obviously the Green Market's happening, so you can stop at the Green Market and head over to Crafted or vice versa. And housing, we'll go there next. Carver Square is 20 single family homes that we're building with Pulte Group in the Southwest neighborhood is well underway as well. If you drive there now, you will actually see block going up. So they're starting to go vertical with the homes, and we're planning to have some sort of a house celebration towards the end of April. We're in the Pulte's in the process of securing buyers. So we wanted to have a celebration for them very soon. And lastly, our annual report is prepared for 2021 fiscal year. So you can visit our website and check that out. I think that's it. Any questions?
Yes, thank you, Renee. Renee,
Sure.
What's going on in West Atlantic, North and South sides? Anything on either side of Atlantic, West Atlantic there?
Well, I just mentioned the Hatcher building. You mean on Atlantic Avenue or?
Yes, there were the north and the south sides.
Well,
Yeah.
we had the groundbreaking I just mentioned for 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. Yeah, so that's on the north side. Hatcher construction. Oh,
On the 9th and 10th block, there was those proposed containers.
that's still in discussion. So we actually had a meeting with the city this week to find out what would be involved in making something like that happen. Our board was supportive of moving forward something of that nature as a container or some kind of small scale commercial development. So we're working on the land use part for that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, can I ask Kay Johnson's quickly if she wants to talk about the library's strategic plan that's coming up? Kay, are you still there? Okay. Okay, I'll tell you then. So the library is embarking on a strategic plan. They have a consultant and they're going to be doing outreach to a lot of different groups to do focus groups. So they'll be reaching out to educators, to parents, to the business community. So you'll be hearing a lot more information from the library in the near future and all types of channels. They want to get input. I think a lot of the people don't know all the amazing things that the library does for anybody anyway. So this will be a good PR effort for them, but they are going out to the whole community, including the electeds, and getting input for their strategic plan. So be looking for information for that.
Thanks,
So-
Stephanie. Sorry, I couldn't get off mute fast enough, but she covered it all.
Okay, good.
Stephanie, we have somebody from tax appraisers. I don't know who that is. Do they want to say anything? Whoever you are, Ann Gannon's office.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Beth Machenbacker. I was just logged in this morning. I was curious to hear Senator Berman's update, and I also hadn't attended this forum before and just wanted to see what it was all about. So thanks for inviting me along.
And then we called you out. Sorry, Beth.
No, that's okay.
On your toes for this meeting, but we're
No,
so
it's
glad
fine.
you could join us today. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Stephanie.
Well, send our best to Ann Gannon and tell her we miss her. She should come visit us at the chamber.
Well, I believe we have something on the books, but I will defer to chamber staff. I'm not sure if that's 100% confirmed and everything yet, so I don't want to
We do.
speak
we
out of
do.
turn. Okay.
We've got her for August 5th. So while we're talking about it, let me just give you the updated schedule. Jeff Orris, you are on the hook for May 6th. So we'll be hearing from the Assistant City Manager, Jeff, on May 6th. On June 3rd, we've got the County Clerk, Joseph Abruzzo, who'll be on. On July 1st, we'll hear from Michelle Jacobs, who's head of the Palm Beach County Economic Council. And August 5th is actually Ann Gannon, the Palm Beach County Tax Collector. So that's what we have coming up in the next couple of months.
Terrific. So it's 8:58. Do we leave anybody out, Stephanie?
Me, you left me out. So I'll get my.
Usually lead off. You're our lead off
No,
batter.
well, it depends. It depends on what we've got going on. So quickly, well, Elizabeth has from the city has also input the planning and zoning report. Elizabeth, do you want to say something quickly?
Hi, I can't, I gotta jump off for another meeting, but we had an exciting submission for the Pompey Park. We're going to implement their campus master plan. So there's a little image in there of what it's going to look like, and you can get a link to the website. Other than that, I really don't have much to report. So thank you.
Thank you. And then Renee also put in the link to the CRA annual report. So thank you for that, Renee. And I can just close it out
You're
quickly
welcome.
because I've got a 9 o'clock call myself. So tonight is the first Friday art walk that the DDA does. And the chamber is going to participate this tonight because we've got Delray Fair coming up, and the artist that won the commemorative poster art, Sarah Wang's going to be here from 6 to 7 p.m. signing posters. So we're excited to be participating in the First Friday Art Walk. Open house, come in and get a drink and some nibbles and check out the exhibition that we have on all the past memorabilia from the Delray Fair. So that'll be fun. So we hope you can join us tonight from 6 to 9 p.m. We also have coming up this week, even though we've got the Delray Fair on the 8th, 9th, and 10th, we've got a lot of our normal chamber business. So the nonprofit council's meeting next week. It's sponsored by Dash Travel and Be Like Brit, and our speaker is going to be Jennifer Thomason. She's the CEO of Habitat for Humanity. They always have a great program at the nonprofit council. Our new member Jumpstart, we hold quarterly. That's hosted by Kim Beckett from Beckett Consulting. So that's a way to give our members just a jump start on their membership and what to expect. So that's going to be on April 19th at 8:30 a.m. And then Contacts and Cocktails will be at the Salt Suite. If you wanted to see what that place is like, tune in to this week's Delray Morning Live. I think we have it up already, and you can see how amazing it looks in there. So you can see it for yourself on April 21st. And then following week after the Jumpstart is a Greetings to Meetings networking workshop. And that's our speaker is Daniel Hartwell from United We Rock. We're partnering with him this year. He's a great networker. So again, this is free to our new members the week after their Jumpstart meeting. And the YPAD has got something really special coming up in April. They'll have Impressionist Josh Rosen, and they're going to be at the Delray Beach Playhouse. So YPAD's going to have a great event on April 27th. And I think that's it for April, besides the Delray Fair, April 8th through 10th. We're really excited about it. We hope to see you all out there. Friday's the best day for locals, so definitely go then. And that's all I've got from the chamber. And I think we should close out. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Steph. So much going on. You're really a great leader. Thanks for doing all you do for us, Stephanie. Michael, any last words before we sign off? It's a great day, April Fool's Day, but anybody that doesn't live in Florida is an April Fool. So enjoy the beautiful weather, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next month.
David, thanks. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.